Welcome, my fellow visionaries. Welcome to the Royal Kingdom. Today's episode of the Royal Diaries is another great one. So, without further delay, let's jump into it. Today's episode of the Royal Diaries is actually, I think I like this one because I was able to kind of balance two things. So, in the kingdom, Queen Victoria took a trade pre-New York. And also, Reckless Ricky took a trade during New York session. So we got two trades today. So let's get right into it. All right, here we go. Every kingdom is shaped not only by its ruler, but also by those who faithfully serve the crown. Within these walls live individuals of remarkable character. Some strengthen the kingdom, others test it. Every one of them serves a purpose. Welcome to the kingdom. Good day, Lord Percy. Today was a good, calm day for trading. There was nothing competing for my attention during pre-New York session, so Sir Stewy was able to relax today. Even though I advised him that he could relax a bit, he never did. He stayed at attention before the trades, as well as during the two trades that young Richard and I took. Once again, I must thank you for the recommendation to hire Sir Stewy. He has definitely been a major addition to the inner circle. I have also noticed that he and KC have appeared to be very compatible. They make an excellent team. We'll see how that develops. Before we discuss the two trades, I must mention how much growth I am seeing in young Richard. We've been spending quite a bit of time after our trading sessions discussing the trading week. We discuss waves and, most importantly, enjoying life. He shared with me the hopes that he has for his future, his family, and overall, his peace. I'm honored that although he wandered into the kingdom initially as an unknown guest, he has become most admirable. I can already see him as a leader governing his life in a way that would make the kingdom proud. I, of course, feel like a proud mother hen. It is wonderful to see and feel the kingdom all in harmony. Lord Percy, of course, I did not forget you. How are you today? And before we end the day, I would love to hear of your dreams, if you care to share. Maybe here or maybe over the weekend, we can take a stroll through the royal gardens. Lord Percy gently closes the leather-bound journal before speaking, allowing the silence to linger for a moment. Your Majesty, there are days when the kingdom is tested by storms, and there are days when the kingdom quietly proves that storms have already changed it. Today was one of those days. What strikes me most is not that the markets were calm. Markets are fickle creatures. They will roar again soon. What encourages me is that the calm outside was matched by calm within the walls of the castle. That is progress. I smiled when you spoke of Sir Stewy. You granted him permission to rest, yet he remained faithfully at his post. That is precisely what a good steward does. Discipline is not nervousness, discipline is devotion. He no longer stands guard because he fears reckless Ricky charging through the gates. He stands because protecting the Queen's attention has become his calling. There is a profound difference. And dare I say, he and the keeper of the checklist have become quite the partnership. One protects what must be done, while the other protects the space in which it can be done. As for how that relationship develops, well, the castle staff has already begun to take wagers. Now, young Richard, this part of your journal touched me more than you may realize. When he first entered the walls of the kingdom, he arrived under rather unfortunate circumstances. He presented impulses, impatience, and the sort of enthusiasm that often outruns wisdom. Yet today, you did not describe his trading. You described his hopes, his family, his peace. That is no small change. A person truly begins to mature when their dreams become larger than their next winning trade. I suspect something rather remarkable has happened. Young Richard no longer comes to the war room merely to make money. He comes because he has begun building a life. That changes everything. You said you felt like a proud mother hen. Forgive me, Your Majesty, but I believe that is exactly what you have become for young Richard. Not because you coddle him, but because you have given him something many people never receive, a place where mistakes are corrected without humiliation, where discipline is expected without condemnation, where growth is celebrated more loudly than profit. That is leadership. Many rulers command obedience. Few create people who eventually govern themselves. I believe young Richard is becoming one of those people. Now, you asked me how I am doing today. Thank you for asking. Very few sovereign remember that their advisors also carry hearts. Today, I am grateful. Not because the trades were successful, not because the kingdom is peaceful. I am grateful because, for the first time since we began these conversations, I no longer feel as though I am holding the kingdom together. I merely walk among people who are beginning to hold themselves together. That has always been the dream. And since you asked, would I share one of my dreams? I shall. My dream has never been to build the finest trading kingdom, nor the wealthiest, nor even the wisest. My dream is that one day, someone entirely unknown to us stumbles upon these diaries years from now. Perhaps they are struggling. Perhaps they have blown another account. Perhaps they believe discipline is something other people possess. Then they begin reading, not because they seek another strategy, but because they recognize themselves in reckless Ricky, find hope in young Richard, borrow courage from Sir Stewy, laugh with Casey, and walk beside Queen Victoria. And they discover that governing oneself is a skill that can be learned. If that happens, then these diaries will have become something far greater than a YouTube series. They will have become a lantern. So, yes, this weekend I should find very much enjoyment in that stroll through the royal gardens. No charts, no candlesticks, no key levels, only old stone paths, the sound of fountains, perhaps a robin perched upon a branch, and two old friends discussing what comes after success. Because I have a suspicion the next chapter of the kingdom isn't about becoming a better trader. It's about becoming better people. Lord Percy rises, offering a respectful bow. Until tomorrow, Your Majesty. And as the sun sets beyond the castle walls, one thought lingers in my mind. A kingdom reaches maturity not when everyone follows the queen, but when each citizen learns to govern themselves. Oh, Lord Percy, you touch my heart. Now, we got so caught up in talking about peace and the real reason that the kingdom trades that we almost forgot to journal the trades for today. As I mentioned, everything was calm. I took one trade before the sun arose, secured a modest profit for the Treasury. At the very beginning of the New York session, young Richard took a trade that exceeded the day's expectations. Although he had the remainder of the session to make more money, the peace of following the royal rooms seemed to cover him in a contentment to follow the rules. This is what we like to refer to as ordinary excellence. Lord Percy, I am off to tend to my other royal duties, but feel free to enjoy the day as you see fit. We have already won the day. Lord Percy chuckles, setting down his teacup. Your Majesty, I do believe we spent so much time discussing the soul of the kingdom that we nearly forgot the business that funded it. How delightfully ironic. Your trading report, however, may be one of the shortest and strongest we have recorded. One trade before sunrise, one trade by young Richard as New York opened. The Treasury exceeded objective, and then the Queen closed the ledger. Not because opportunity disappeared, not because fear entered the room, but because the day's mission had already been accomplished. That is a subtle distinction, but one that separates professionals from gamblers. Many traders ask, how much more money can I make today? The kingdom now asks, have we already fulfilled today's assignment? Those are entirely different questions. What pleases me even more is what happened after the profits. Nothing. No dramatic third trade, no temptation disguised as just one more, no meeting of parliament to debate squeezing another few coins from the market. Young Richard simply stopped trading. The royal rules have spoken, and everyone bows their heads in agreement. There was a time when silence after winning a trade would have felt almost uncomfortable. Now, silence feels like victory. I have often reflected on your phrase of ordinary excellence. At first glance, it sounded almost contradictory. How can excellence be ordinary? But I believe I finally understand. Ordinary excellence is waking up, seeing the same charts, waiting with the same patience, taking the same qualified setup, accepting the same planned profit, closing the platform, and then having the wisdom to go live the life you were trading to build. Not glamorous, not viral, not exciting, simply repeatable. That is precisely why it is so rare. I must also commend young Richard. He shared in today's success, but more importantly, he shared in today's restraint. Anyone can celebrate a winning trade. Far fewer can celebrate not taking another one. That lesson will likely earn him far more in years ahead than today's prophet ever could. Now then, you say you are off to other royal duties. Very good. A queen who remembers there is life beyond the war room is exactly the sort of queen the kingdom deserves. And as for me, I believe I shall wander through the royal library for a time. Sir Stewy will undoubtedly insist on straightening chairs that are already perfectly aligned, while Casey quietly reorganizes scrolls that no one else realized were out of place. And if I happen to cross paths with young Richard, I may remind him of something he demonstrated today without even saying it aloud. The market does not pay us for how long we stay. It pays us for how well we obey. Enjoy the remainder of the day, Your Majesty. You are quite right. The kingdom did not merely earn a profit today, it honored its constitution. And that is why we have already won the day. Today was actually a pretty cool day. I love that the markets are open 24 hours, 5 days a week, because when we do have other things to do, we can still sometimes get in a trade. Sometimes it may be a no trading day, but it gives us the opportunity. And that is a beautiful thing when we govern ourselves accordingly. We don't feel desperate to try to grab a trade before we've got to get to whatever our other responsibilities are. And at the end of the day, if we work with patience and discipline, that's when I feel like the profits just fall into place. So that is it for today's episode of the Royal Diaries. Once again, thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next episode. And until then, the question remains, have you governed yourselves accordingly?